Welcome to a special edition of Universe Sports Live. I'm Shyler Johnson, and today we are showing two separate stories created by the Universe Sports team. The first story is the story of Keenan Ellis. Ellis is a former BYU football player whose football career came to an end due to a major injury in the first game of the season and his struggle to come to terms with that injury. Take a look.
BYU and the All-Royals and the Good Sam Vegas Kickoff Classic is about to be underway. Great to have you with us for another season of BYU football. Ball on the Arizona 31, snap to Cruz, a straight back drop. He throws right, incomplete. Oh no, BYU player hurt on the hit. Keenan Ellis is down and they need a trainer out, and the players immediately know he's hurt badly.
The only thing I remember from that play, right before the snap, I remember just looking at my safety, Chaz Ayu.
I give him a call that allows him to be a little more aggressive, come down on the run. Keenan being one of our most physical corners, that's a call that every time you get it, you know Keenan's gonna hit it.
I thought it was just a normal hit. 90% of the time, guys kind of get up and kind of stumble off. After a few seconds, I kind of seen them laying there, so I knew it was more than a minor concussion.
They said I was out for about a minute or two, and then I woke up and I just wanted to play again. They told me I couldn't get up, like stay down, stay down. I kept fighting them off. They all had to pin me down.
We'll hope that Keenan Ellis is all right.
They had a person hold down each of my limbs. So one person on my right arm, one person on my left arm, one person on my right leg, left leg, I think another person on like my neck.
Being on the ground and seeing them strapped, it was just emotional. I found myself crying a little bit, wiping tears from my eyes because I'm so close with my guys.
I've watched that play like 1,000 times. I saw myself go down. I'm like, why can't I just get up? Why was it like that? I just remember feeling a cloud of rage. Probably a significant part of it was just the concussion and the severity of it and how it affected my brain. I was easily irritated by anything. If I wanted lemonade and somebody got me strawberry lemonade, I would have been completely mad.
Personality change and the brain fog that Keenan was experiencing, I think, was the hardest thing I had to witness as his roommate, as his friend. Keenan's the nicest guy in the world. And so for him to not feel like himself, you could tell was bothering him.
I know I did a lot of rehab, like hyperbaric chambers. I remember doing meditation, cognitive drills and games, and just try to do whatever I can to get me back to normal. At first, it was looking like I was gonna come back in 3 weeks. And then after that, they just pushed it back to 2 months, and then half season, then bowl game, until finally we did an MRI and they looked at my brain and said the risk was too big for me to come back. It literally felt like the worst gut punch ever. I tried to hold it back, but I had tears just piling up. Literally, I felt my life just crumble. I didn't even tell my mom for about 2-3 weeks, because once I told her, that's when it felt real. She was heartbroken. It was one of the hardest things I had to do.
Every athlete's worst dream is to have your career end before you want it to.
I remember talking to my coach, Coach Lamb. He told me that same energy I had for football, just use it to the next trajectory of my life. I've always been in game ready stance, man. Come on. Come on. I always thought after I played football that I'm just completely done. But then I realized just the experience I had and what I brought to the football field would be very valuable to all these younger kids. So what's the goal for today? It's about just helping others out, right? My goal was always to support my family. That's what drove my love for football. And so I said, okay, well, football is done. What can I do next to support my family? And a lot of my family members are in and out of the system. And so I figured, okay, I'm gonna go into law school and I can either represent my family or know somebody to help represent my family. My freshman Keenan looked at me now, I think he'd actually be quite proud of how far I've come and the fact that I'm just not stopping.
I feel very proud of him, I think he fought back in a way that a lot of guys in our shoes wouldn't have.
No regrets. No, I did everything that I wanted to do. I'm looking back at it, I'm content with it.
We're now joined by Tyler Gibb, a primary producer and editor on this story. Tyler, tell us what you learned by working on this story.
And one of the things I learned that really stood out, and it's alluded to by both Chaz and Keenan, but was how much of the recovery process Keenan was struggling through just in terms of the mental side of things and trying to get back to being himself. We always see injuries from the football side of things and getting back to the field, when are they going to be physically recovered and healthy? But the mental side of things is what was the hardest for Keenan to overcome. And in terms of Chaz, he mentions seeing, how difficult it was to see Keenan struggling through that. So you learn, from Keenan's perspective, just how hard it is on the mental side of these injuries.
Yeah. You capture a lot of moments with Keenan. You have a lot of film to go through to make something like this. What is something that didn't make it into the documentary that you found really interesting?
Yeah, one of the funny things that Keenan said was after the injury, when he was coming back from Las Vegas, and the first thing that he really remembers is he woke up and all he wanted was a hot dog. So I thought that was funny, but it doesn't go into as much the immediate aftermath of once Keenan leaves the stadium to that recovery process. Keenan says that he couldn't remember anything for about a month. And so just that whole time period of Keenan trying to work towards the recovery process, but he doesn't recall any of it. And so it's hard to kind of put that in the story because there's not much for Keenan to talk about because he doesn't remember it, but you don't realize that there was a whole month that he forgot.
Yeah, gotcha. As audiences watch your documentary, what do you want them to take away from Keenan's story?
Yeah, Keenan has such an upbeat and positive energy about him, and you see that was a struggle for him for a while, was trying to be positive through this injury. But Keenan's viewed it now as, looking back, hey, I learned so much from football, and although I didn't get to play as long as I wanted to, he realized there's a lot of things that he can take from football and now apply that into the next step in his life. And we're all going to, everybody goes through those things where it doesn't go as they planned. Keenan's done a great job at taking what he's learned from football and applying that in a different way to now be able to help his family, whether through law school or in other ways.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Our second story features a unique aspect of the BYU women's soccer team. Currently, they have several players serving missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. While some of the women have known they wanted to serve missions for years, the decision for others came as a surprise to themselves as well as Coach Rockwood. This decision to suddenly leave and serve a mission for the church puts a strain on the player, the team, and Coach Rockwood. The Universe Sports team reports.
Olivia shoots and scores! Olivia Wade!
Into the box, wide right, and blocked by Mason.
BYU's victorious in penalty kicks. The Cougars go to the national championship match.
We have been able to maintain a top 25, even really the last few years, a top 15 in the country program with something very unique.
Yo soy Olivia Wade y serví una misión en Houston, Texas.
Hi, I'm Savannah Mason. I served in Hamilton, New Zealand.
Soy Letiaki Naka y serví una misión en Denver, Colorado.
I'm Linda Hernandez, and I serve in Utah, the Salt Lake City South Mission.
Serving a mission is definitely a personal choice, and I remember originally when the age changed to 19, I really didn't think it would impact us. In the past, our missionaries had played their 4 years of eligibility and then gone on a mission. But when they did change the age to 19, that very first semester, I had 4 or 5 girls decide to go on a mission.
My whole life just never wanted to serve a mission. I was always like the girl that was so excited that I was a girl, that it wasn't like an obligation for me to serve a mission.
I had been thinking about it towards the end of my senior year, but it honestly scared me because I knew I was getting ready to go play at BYU, and is what I worked so hard for, and so I remember kind of pushing that thought to the back of my head.
I didn't think that we'd probably have to deal with this many missionaries, trying to keep track of roster sizes and anticipating these changes. I think on the men's side, I mean, you know that they typically go but with girls, you can recruit them and then they decide that they need to go, and it's something that has caught you off guard. So as a staff, it has been quite a challenge for us.
Obviously, there isn't a lot of benefits of taking 18 months off of playing soccer.
Most of these girls are playing at the highest level when they leave on their mission, and taking that break and focusing on something completely different, it takes some time.
I wouldn't be back where I was. You know, I wasn't going to be in the same shape that I was at. I knew it was going to be kind of a grind and a journey from there.
Can I still play soccer when I come back if I chose to serve mission? Like, what would happen to my life? How would I afford school afterwards? I have a scholarship to play there. Am I going to lose it? Can I come back and will I still be good enough to even play for the team?
That's a huge risk you take when deciding to go on a mission is, you know, you might come back and not be able to play as well as you did before. And so knowing that, obviously it was not the funnest thing to think about, but I think just knowing that serving a mission was what I was supposed to do. So I guess come what may and love it afterwards, and I was going to deal with it when I got back.
We take small steps of faith, but sometimes the Lord requires us to just take a leap. And it's scary. Leaping is way scarier than stepping, right? Because you don't know what's on the other side. But once you take that leap, things work out.
I think that serving a mission is far harder and more challenging than playing Division I soccer. So I think they might not realize that until they get out there, because being a Division I athlete and an elite team is obviously very hard and challenging and demanding. But I think serving a mission is even more challenging and demanding. And I think they learn a lot more about themselves. I think they grow in a lot of ways, and that maturity comes back and helps them as a player in their development. It also adds so much to our team and our culture.
I honestly believe that my soccer career is way better off having served a mission. And I think that the things that I learned on my mission really helped me in soccer in ways that I honestly didn't expect.
Serving a mission has given me a greater perspective on life and on purpose. Before, you know, soccer was like everything. It's still a big part of my life, but it's not everything. Soccer's not who I am. It's what I do.
You always wonder, maybe where would I be at right now if I didn't serve a mission? You know, 18 months of development and training and all these things, but I don't think I would be the same player that I am right now if I hadn't served a mission because of the things that I learned on my mission.
We're now joined by Colton Potter, one of the primary producers and editors on this story. Thank you so much for joining us. Colton, why did you choose this story?
Yeah, I think that this story is really interesting because of just the fact that there isn't the same type of pressure for females to serve missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as there is for males. We hear a lot about football players, basketball players, and other men who take 2 years off from their sport to go serve a mission. But we don't often hear about females and their decision to serve a mission. And it's extremely unique because of the number of players from the women's soccer team who decide to serve missions and just how good the soccer team is. 2 years ago, they were the national runners-up, and they're consistently a top 15 program. And so right now they have 8 missionaries out right now, and they have 4 returned missionaries on the team, and that's who we interviewed for the story. And so that's a high number when they only have 25, 30 players on the roster, and 12 of them have decided to serve a mission. And so we chose the story just because of that conflict of how difficult it is to maintain a top 15 program when you have so much roster turnover from year to year, and the difficult decision that these girls have to make of taking 18 months off to go on a mission.
That's awesome. You interviewed quite a few players for this story. Was there anything that didn't make it into the final film that you found really compelling?
Yeah, there were a couple things. One is the story of Lynette. She's a goalkeeper on the team who joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints while playing at Washington State, decided to serve a mission, and then transferred to BYU. And so we did a podcast that focuses on her story more, but that didn't make it a lot into our story, but is a really compelling story. as well as just how difficult it is for Coach Rockwood and the coaching staff to maintain and build their roster year to year with players deciding to leave or come back or all of those different things. We didn't get to spend as much time on that in the story, but Coach Rockwood really gave us a nice look into how difficult it is to maintain that roster.
That's amazing. As audiences watch your story, what is something you want them to take away from these women's stories that they shared with you?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is just the love that they have for Jesus Christ. I think that was very apparent. But also just how difficult it is to not only be a Division I athlete, but especially to be a Division I athlete when you take an 18-month break. As well as just a greater appreciation for Coach Rockwood and her staff and this program that they've built, how dominant that they've been despite the fact that they have players coming and leaving every season, and there's not as much consistency as other programs have as far as their roster build goes. And so I think those are the things that really stood out to me, and I hope that all the viewers take home from the story.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and answering some of my questions. And thank you for joining us today for our special edition of Universe Sports Live. You can access more content relating to these stories on universe.byu.edu and listen to the podcast wherever you stream podcasts.